Hi Art Seekers, we are here today with the iconic and incomparable Vyal, who has been this influential tour de force on the graffiti scene since the 1990s and continues to be one of its most influential players. So it's really a treat to get to talk to him today. I read somewhere that you started working on the streets in the 7th and the 8th grade. I don't know if that's true, but what kind of work did you put up when you were that young?
That was just, the neighborhood tagging, things like that, before we were old enough to go to county jail.
So you have had some run-ins with the law?
Yeah, some small run-ins, but, I never got so out of hand that I had to, be sought out by the law enforcement.
Right.
I got into galleries and doing the art part of it really early on and got really hooked on that. The main thing that attracted me to this type of work was the fact that we used spray paint to do our work, and that was so forbidden. The first person I ever saw right on a wall with spray paint was a gang member, and this was back in like the early 80s, and he just looked like he was having so much fun. I mean, despite the fact that yes, he was destroying somebody's property and he was a gang member, and there's all these other things, the look on his face was like priceless. And I got really excited when I saw him doing it, and I just knew that, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. But I wanted to create work that was more epic.
How do you pick out your locations around the city?
A little bit of it is strategic, depending upon what it is exactly I'm going for. I've been known at times to do installations with leftover furniture that's discarded on the side of the road, and I paint on that. And I see it as a way to kind of keep up the street aspect of it, but not break any laws. I don't know that there's any laws about painting on mattresses or couches or things like that. But it's funny because once I do that, I kind of reimagine the space, and it brings a different energy to that space again. And sometimes the artwork is seen by somebody and they'll go and cut it out and take it. And so then this kind of creates like this dialogue, right? Like working with the streets, working with the community in that area, and then having this exchange, which is really kind of incredible.
I agree, and I also think that it's an act of generosity because you're really giving something to the streets and to the community, and something with no expectation of a return, because as you said, somebody can just cut it out and take it with them.
Right. And I've had some people like send me messages on Instagram like, hey, I got this piece from you, or I got this piece, it's in my bedroom, or it's hanging in my man cave or whatever. And that's really cool because I think it also brings attention to the fact that these things are happening, like this light that takes place of like people just discarding their fucking furniture wherever they want, and then it doesn't get any attention, nobody picks it up, and you paint on it, and all of a sudden it becomes like valuable again.
A leitmotif or reoccurring theme that I see in your work are eyes, and of course it reminds me of Dali, especially that film Un Chien Andalous, in which he slices open this woman's eye, and that's the start of it. And I think what he's trying to say is once we free ourselves from the trappings of objective sight, then the real authentic sight can come out. And I'm wondering if that is what you, or how you interpret the eyes, or what are you trying to say?
It's interesting because it's people see it as a single subject, and some people are like, oh, all you do is paint eyes, and for me it's this image that just kind of keeps evolving, and the way I approach it, it's a symbol of luck. It's a symbol of, some people see it as a symbol of God, some people see it as a symbol of fortune. So it's all these things, and I think it's fun to kind of have that be so vast, yet it's such a small part of us. But every day you wake up and you open your eyes and you don't even think about like, oh shit, I'm really lucky, like I'm seeing, and we this whole thing is based on obviously visual intake, so it kind of gets super deep.
That does. That just blew my mind a little bit. Out of all of your works in LA, which one is the most personally significant to you?
Right now, I would think it's on 3rd Street with Risk Rock. One, because I've seen Risk's work growing up as a kid, and he was somebody whose work I saw evolve and a very successful artist at a young age. So he was kind of like one of the people that we looked up to as like, hey, we can get to that level of doing work and doing things. So when I worked with him on this piece, it felt like I had come full circle. And you see there's a lot of circles on that
Yep.
piece too. And the eyes. And I think that it feels like, besides the other walls that I do, I mean, I get a lot of walls that feel like really powerful, but I think that wall is super powerful. And it gets a lot of attention. You know?
Well, I love that wall because you activate the ground in addition
Yeah.
to the wall, and I think that's a very smart use of space.
Yeah, that was kind of accidental, but it worked out really well, and that was like all risk.
You do a lot of work with collaborators, and then obviously your solo work. Do you prefer one method over the other?
I really like collaborating. I really like doing work on my own. The problem with doing work on your own is that you can't lean on anybody to take up the slack when you're getting tired, or when like this piece behind us is like 3 stories high. So it was a mission, and it's still not done. So.
Well, it's incredible because you, unlike so many other street artists, you don't use stencils.
No.
Right? Everything is freehand, and so I'm sure you
Right.
tire out pretty, it happens.
Yeah, it happens. I come from that kind of purist graffiti mentality, and it's the way like that I held on to some of those things. So like can control and having all these different abilities to create all these different types of styles in your work and things like that, which in the art world is like a not a good thing. Like people want to be able to recognize your work every time they see it. So now at this point, that I'm older and stuff, I think anything that I paint is kind of has a signature to it, and people can tell that I painted it, even if it's completely different.